Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, Monday, special session. Also, Mo Brooks wants to rehash Roy Moore's Senate loss. And MyPillow guy says votes flipped in Alabama's presidential election.
What sick human being came up with something like this?
You're crazy, man.
So he's crazy.
Are you insane?
Are you crazy?
What are you, crazy?
Yes, people. It's that crazy. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and today I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter for APR. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
In the world of politics where things always get weirder, they just never get calm. Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, came to Alabama last week, bought our voter registration list, paid 30 grand for it, met with John Merrill, Secretary of State, and then came back, Susan, and said that by his research, Alabama votes, 100,000 Alabama votes have been switched from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. I don't even think that's believable.
It's not believable. There's no way they could have been switched. The machines are individual machines. They don't have modems. They don't have Bluetooth. There is absolutely no way that happened.
Josh, why in the world would someone come to Red, Alabama to try to convince us that 100,000 votes were flipped, he said, against Donald Trump?
Well, I don't know that was the goal when he came here, but I think what the goal was when he came here was to get into any Secretary of State's office, and it just so happens that we entertain crazy, and that's what Mike Lindell is. Mike Lindell's a crazy person with a lot of money, and so he came down here and he met with, for whatever reason. Well, the better question is, why in the hell is our Secretary of State meeting with this guy? Why? It's not, and you saw the photos. It's not just John Merrill didn't just invite him in. He had the whole staff there serving him Chick-fil-A and stuff. And so it just, what are we doing? Really, what are we doing here? It's just, of course, that's what he said. That's what he does. That's what he's been going around telling everybody for years. Now, for the better part of a year now. This is what he does. This is his gig.
Well, he obviously has sold a lot of pillows.
I wonder how many he's sold in the Trump resorts.
I don't know. He sold a lot of pillows. But the deal is, with me, is John Merrill is a nice guy. He's going to invite you in and talk to you.
He's going to be hospitable.
But, after this came out, he went, no. None of this ever happened. It's impossible to happen with Alabama's voting machines. But, the thing is, if you court crazy,
yep.
It's going to rub off on you at some point. And we're courting crazy over here.
Yeah, if you lay down with deranged dogs, you wake up with some derangement on you. That's what happens.
And some fleas as well.
And if you lay down on the cow pasture, you're liable to wake up in dung. Anyway, I want to move over to, one of our favorite subjects, and that is Congressman Mo Brooks, who's running for the U.S. Senate to replace Richard Shelby. So recently there was a meeting down in Enterprise of the Coffee County Republican women, and Mo Brooks was there, Linda Blanchard was there, Katie Britt was there, and someone asked about the Roy Moore 2017 Roy Moore race, and Mo Brooks wanted to make that an issue whether Katie Britt had supported Roy Moore, and this became a talking point and a bone of contention at that meeting, Susan.
It did. It got pretty hot there for a few minutes. And, Mo Brooks went on and on about, how he voted for Roy Moore. And, Katie had said, I always vote Republican. And it really got into quite a bit of a fight that ended up over the Trump endorsement in the very end of it.
Right, but I mean, you know, Katie pointed out that Mo had called Trump a serial, what do you call that? I'm trying to think.
Pedophile?
No, that.
Sorry.
Score one
A
for two.
serial adulterer
Yeah.
and a notorious flip-flopper. So we got a lot of flipping and flopping, but Mo wants to relitigate Roy Moore's thing. Katie didn't live in the district at the time, and he's trying to make an issue out of it because Senator Richard Shelby said he wasn't going to vote for Moore. He was going to vote for a respectable or Republican. I would have just said, look, I didn't live here, I didn't vote, but if I'd had a vote, I believe the women, and I wouldn't have voted for him because my values. Roy Moore lost, but not because of Katie Britt's vote, but because he was a terrible candidate.
It's unimaginable to me that there is going to be a race in which the winner of this race is probably going to be our U.S. Senator. And part of it, at least part of it, hinges on whether or not that person voted for Roy Moore. I mean, it just, what are y'all doing in the Republican Party? Of course you didn't vote for Roy Moore. Why would somebody vote for Roy Moore? You know? I mean, other than the R beside his name, he gave you absolutely no reason. Kind of like Mo Brooks. There's no reason to vote for those people. They will do nothing but embarrass you from this day forward. That's all they're ever going to do. What are y'all doing?
Well, the thing is you're appealing to the party's base. And the base likes Roy Moore. They like Jim Ziegler. They like Mo Brooks, because they don't care if you can govern. They care if you shout and own the libs. That's really all they care
The thing
about.
with Mo Brooks is bringing up Roy Moore does him no good, because that same 35 to 38% of the Republican Party that's going to vote for Roy Moore is going to vote for Mo Brooks already.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know about that, because Josh, we looked at a poll that just came out, and Mo Brooks is leading in the poll, but he's got 41%. You don't win with 41%, and that's soft, right?
Yeah, it's he's down in the 20s of people who would definitely vote for him.
Right.
And even in that poll, and there's like 40% of people undecided on any way that they'll go. And so, you basically got 60 to 65% of the vote still hanging out there for somebody to grab. And it's just, it's a strange party to me. I mean, it really is. I mean, the way that they have to placate to these people who are for lack of a better term, insane in a lot of ways. It's just a weird way to have to govern. It really is.
Well, I mean, Susan, with those type of soft numbers, I think you see donors will be really concerned about giving money to Mo Brooks. Katie Britt is anywhere between 11 and 17 points in the polls, but she has not spent a dime on advertising, to the masses. They had one little short ad.
She's gained all that just in going from county to county, shaking hands, meeting people, going to businesses, and just doing the groundwork.
I mean, again, it's going to turn out it's going to require turnout. Katie's got to get out and vote. Linda Blanchard's got to get out her vote. Mo Brooks's cake is baked pretty much as to what he's going to get.
Yeah.
But you're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and opinion.
On Monday, state legislators will return to Montgomery for a special session on prison reform. And while they could easily pass a gaming and lottery bill at the same time, there's no plan to do so. We've waited long enough. Alabama has lost enough. It's time to let the people decide. Call your legislator today and tell them to pass a gaming and lottery bill in this special session. Because every day they fail to act, we all lose.
So you got caught speeding. But this time you got more than a ticket.
What are you in for?
Vehicular homicide.
Stop speeding before speeding stops you. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Your career isn't a job, it's a journey. Your next job could lead to bigger things, and you're in charge of how fast and how far you want to go. At alabamaworks.com, you can connect with employers and start working right now. Then chart your path forward with training and career planning tools. That next paycheck is great, but it's only the beginning. Start a great success story at alabamaworks.com.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Later on, we'll get to the fact that we're having a special session coming Monday. But one of the things that we are hearing from the medical community, Josh, and I think this is important, is that if we're going to spend $400 million in COVID money on prisons, wouldn't it make sense to spend at least $200 million of that money on health care? And because the healthcare system is suffering and they need more money.
Yeah, I think that if we look back over the course of the last, at least the last 15 to 20 years in the state, we have lost a number of rural hospitals. We've lost doctors. We've lost nurses. If you chart us on a per capita basis in this state and compare us to other states, we're in the bottom 10 on doctors and medical staff per capita. And so, it is something that's a serious problem in the state that we have, and COVID has enhanced that problem and really kind of shown us, where we're really lacking in a lot of areas. And so, yeah, I mean, first of all, they really want to spend $550 to $700 million of the COVID money on prisons if they had their way about it, if they can get the federal government to agree. And so, yeah, I think spending $200 to, or $500 million on health care, especially rural health care, would be a fantastic way to use some of the COVID money and put it to the uses that it was actually intended for.
I mean, Susan, Dr. Don Williamson, former health officer here in Alabama, one of the smartest guys around on the healthcare system, says they need at least $200 million.
They do. I mean, we're at 98 with COVID. We're at 98% capacity on ICU beds. We've got a terrible nursing shortage, and this is not going to be fixed by the way of a wand. I mean, they're going to have some money to try to keep Alabama healthy.
My sources tell me from the governor's office just doesn't want to confuse the call on prisons, but that there is help coming for the healthcare system. You brought up in Alabama, the total deaths have increased. We now lead the nation in deaths from COVID, Josh, per capita. I mean, being number one in deaths in the United States per capita is not something we would want to brag about.
No, we have, Scott Harris said last week, state health officer, that, we for the first time in our history, we've had more deaths than births in this state in 2020 because of COVID. We had an unexpected uptick in deaths by about 7,000. We had 7,100 COVID deaths. And so, I don't know what else needs, we can say to people here to make them understand that what we're doing in the short term for COVID has been off the charts crazy. And what we have done long term in terms of health care by not expanding Medicaid and doing a lot of other things is also thing. And listen, I'm gonna tell you this, I've got a big problem with some national Democrats right now that are pushing back on a prescription drug plan that would make prescriptions a lot cheaper for a lot of people that we could absolutely do and make a huge difference for a lot of families out there. And those sorts of things are what help people every single day. When you see their paycheck, you see the money at the end of the month, those are the sort of things that really, really help people. Building some new prisons, we need to do it. And I'm not saying otherwise, but there are things that other things that would help Alabamians a lot more.
Susan, and we're in the middle of this crisis, and it's not getting better. It continues to seemingly get worse. While we have fewer people in the hospital, it's because more people are dying.
Right.
And that's not how you want to succeed. But our politicians keep railing about mask mandates. I mean, Steve Marshall's wanting to sue about vaccine mandates. I mean, we've got all this yelling and screaming about totally normal health procedures, And we're in the middle of a pandemic, and they still want to complain about things that keep us safe.
Alabama is not the one to be giving advice in this situation. The national average is 1 in 500 die of COVID. That's a national average. In Alabama, 1 in 390. We are not in a position to be giving advice on COVID prevention. It's just not true, because we apparently don't know what the heck we're doing.
No, and Josh, when you look at those numbers, and I think we've talked about this, when it's that 1 in 390, at the beginning of the pandemic, people go, well, I don't know anybody who's died from COVID. I don't remember anybody died from COVID.
Right.
Well, if you don't know someone who's died from COVID at this point, you don't know a whole lot of folks.
That must be people living in a cave.
I mean, that's
you don't have a lot of friends.
People.
Yeah, I saw a number there yesterday, and maybe it helps to shrink it down to where people are, and because the number that I saw was 46 people have died in Calhoun County this month. I mean, we're on like the 25th or 26th here of the month, and 46 people in that county have died. Now, imagine that there was any other cause for those deaths. Suddenly, out of the blue, we had killed 46 people in one county. As said, tainted water or whatever. Imagine the uproar and the outrage and the fear and that would come from that. And the idea that we still have so many people just kind of dismissing this it's crazy to me. It really is.
Well, one of the first victims of any pandemic is truth. And this one has been no exception. And with the speed of the internet, social media, and especially politicians, who, it's like right now in Alabama, we'd be much better off if we had politicians say, put on your mask. You can't go to concerts unless you're vaccinated. If we had them doing those types of things, then we would be in a better position. But there's a lack of courage, and especially a lack of courage because we're in a election year.
And a lack of leadership here.
Yeah, they're opportunistic. That's what it is. It's easy to tell people what they want to hear because people want to hear that everything's going to be fine. You don't have to worry about it. It's all okay. You don't have to take these vaccines if you don't want to. You don't have to wear those masks. That everything will be okay. And they've capitalized on that. And you're 100% right. Had they started from the beginning and just said, follow what your doctors say. I'm going to wear my mask. I'm going to get the vaccine. Follow what your doctors say.
And this is something I strongly believe in. Those doctors that are spreading lies about vaccines and all that, they should have their medical license revoked.
Agreed.
They
100%.
should be barred from practicing medicine in the state of Alabama.
I agree.
And it should happen and be permanent. But anyway,
Be
we have to
sued
leave
and put in jail.
or held down and vaccinated. Right?
Either way.
All right, we'll be right back with more news and opinion.
You'll never guess what 400,000 people in the U.S. were using when they crashed their cars last year. No, not this. This. Distracted driving will kill you. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
If you've been working, you've already proven yourself in ways you may not even notice. Managing your time, communicating effectively, and working as part of a team are key skills that employers value. At alabamaworks.com, you can find out how to build on your experience to up your game and get the job you really want because it's out there. Start your new success story at alabamaworks.com.
Sponsored by Alabama Works, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. There's a poll out in the field this week. We believe it to be a Linda Blanchard poll. Linda Blanchard is running for U.S. Senate, but it's the worst kept secret in Alabama is that she might switch and run for governor. And we talked to some people that have heard the poll, and we also reached out to Ms. Blanchard and said that we were going to talk about this on the show, and if there was anything that she could have chimed in on what she was doing. But we don't have any definitive answer that she's running for governor. But the poll, Susan, is all about the governor's race. Linda Blanchard is polled in it, Tim James, and Governor Kay Ivey. I mean, it's interesting that this is out there.
It is, and the interesting thing, well, we can tell it's a Linda Blanchard poll because all of the polling data or questions for her are very positive. However, the polling questions for Kay Ivey and Tim James are very negative. That's interesting itself. It's also interesting that she would start going negative on other candidates before ever announcing. I mean, it's questions like, would you feel comfortable with Kay Ivey regarding families because knowing that she didn't have any children? I mean, it's some pretty hard stuff.
Yeah. I mean, another one, Josh asked, or would you be, it's a push poll, so it's really looking for the right answers that they want to hear. Would you be less favorable, more favorable if you knew that Governor Ivey met with former President Trump and he didn't endorse her? Well, she's never asked for his endorsement. So, I mean, it's that kind of thing that kind of, it skews the poll.
Well,
and it's not even any help to Linda Blanchard.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I guess you get some headlines of, if she then ultimately decides, which I think we all kind of agree that she probably will, because she's polling at about 1% in all the Senate polls, which is basically Linda Blanchard answered. Yeah, I'd vote for Linda Blanchard. But I mean, it's and I like her fine. She's a nice lady.
She is. I do too.
I don't know that I've ever heard her answer a policy question with any sort of answer that gave me any indication that she would be good at the job of either senator or governor. But that's me, and I don't know that I'm necessarily inclined to like her from the beginning, politically speaking. Anyways.
Right.
But it's I mean, I guess you get a few headlines if you jump in and here's a poll that says, oh look, she scores very favorable, compared to Kay Ivey and Tim James, and she can maybe get some traction out of that. There's nobody serious to the right of Kay Ivey at this point, and Kay Ivey is trying desperately through all of her press releases to move a little farther right in the last few weeks, and so maybe there's some room there. I don't know.
You get much further to the right of Kay Ivey and you're going to fall off the flat earth. But they also polled Tim James, and they brought up the fact that they said ran for governor unsuccessfully. And then brought up his dad, Fob, and brought up toll roads and all that nonsense. But anyway, here's the deal, in my mind. Kay Ivey ran against Tommy Battle, Scott Dawson, Bill Hightower, and just murdered them in a Republican primary. I mean, just murdered them. These are better candidates. These are, Tommy Battle was a very good candidate. Bill Hightower, smart guy. Scott Dawson, as likable as any guy you're ever going to meet, and it was murder. And when she faced Walt Maddox, who's one of the most charismatic politicians around, I mean, he ran as a Democrat. She still beat him handily.
I mean, I can kind of dismiss Walt's loss a little bit because of the straight party voting thing that got him. Because listen, nobody worked harder than Walt did. I think Walt had a really good message that resonated with a lot of people, but they couldn't get over the Democrat versus Republican thing, and that's where we kind of are at this point in the state. But you're right about the other. Bill Hightower is a very good candidate if you like that sort of thing, and some of the others. Tommy Battle was a very good candidate at that point, and. I don't know that Linda Blanchard could ever get, but my other thing is on this is I'm torn on whether or not a good candidate is what people want. I mean, we just talked about, in the first segment about them arguing in the Senate race about a Roy Moore vote. So that wouldn't indicate to me that a good candidate is what the base is looking for. They're looking for maybe crazy. I don't know what exactly they're looking for, but it's, so I don't know. I've given up trying to figure out Republicans and Republican voting.
And that's the problem in the primary. And I think this is where, you have these problems where you don't get a lot of the suburban women that come out. They're not coming out in the primary, so they have to appeal directly to the kind of more hardcore base that gets their news from Newsmax and QAnon News and those types of things. I think that should be a news channel. I think you should have QAnon News.
Well, it basically is. It's OAN. But, it's, no, I agree. I don't know how you drive those people, especially if you're Democrats. I think that you have a big base of people there. Those suburban women voters. I don't know how you drive that wedge in there that makes them see that there's a better option out there.
Yeah. Well, I think in a race like the Senate race, Katie Britt, once she gets up and gets her name idea, that's going to be the choice of suburban women. I'm quite certain of that. We got about a minute. I do want to hit on this. Monday, we start a 5-day sprint towards getting the prison bill passed. They're going to meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they hope to have it done by then. I think Governor Ivey is correct in that we need prisons. Josh, we're hearing that prison reform will have to be a part of it, and that it is being negotiated now. But this is going to be a hard sprint to get it done in 5 days.
Yeah, 5 days and $2 billion. So you watch your wallets. Hey, you're right. Prison reform is going to have to be a part of this, and I would say minority contractors are going to be going to come into play a lot into this as well, as to whether or not a deal can get done, because they're going to need the Democrats to get on board with some of this.
Well, Susan, as I used to write about covering the State House when they were in session, you need to hide your wallet, your women, and your liquor.
I tell you what, and they need to have a blood drive truck down there full of blood, because it's going to be all over those chamber floors. This is going to be one heck of a fight.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.